Picture this. A lone samurai stands against a fiery sunset, his silhouette stark against the sky. No dialogue, no quippy sidekick, just the howl of wind and the sharp silhouette of Samurai Jack gripping his sword. In that tense silence, the visuals do all the talking. Welcome to the world of Samurai Jack, a cartoon that threw out the rulebook and proved that sometimes silence and style can tell a story better than 1,000 words. If you ever wondered why Samurai Jack felt so different from any other animated show, stick around. Today we're diving into the minimalist, cinematic, and colorfully bold visual world of Samurai Jack, and how it revolutionized action cartoons. And don't worry, we'll throw in a bit of humor along the way. Even a serious samurai adventure can't resist a little fun. Samurai Jack was created by Genndy Tartakovsky with a bold vision: tell the story primarily through visuals and movement. In the early 2000s, most cartoons loved to fill every second with chatter and jokes. Samurai Jack took a different path. It dialed down the dialogue to almost nothing and cranked the visual storytelling up to 11. Genndy once pointed out that we've almost forgotten what animation was about: the movement and the visuals. And Samurai Jack was his answer to that problem. The Samurai Jack crew aimed to tell the stories visually, letting images speak louder than words. It's as if the show said, "Who needs chit-chat? We have awesome backgrounds and kick-ass action scenes." And it worked. Oh boy, did it work. By keeping talking to a minimum, the show forced itself to be extra rich and engaging through visuals alone. Every frame had to carry the story. As one analysis noted, the team packed enough richness and variety in the look, movement, and filmmaking of each episode to grip people without words. It was a huge creative risk. Would kids and adults actually watch a mostly wordless cartoon? Samurai Jack's success gave a resounding yes. Viewers were glued to the screen, captivated by what they were seeing even when nobody was speaking. Take Jack vs. Mad Jack, for example. In this episode, Jack literally battles the dark anger within himself, manifested as an evil clone. There's hardly any dialogue. Instead, we get lingering shots of trees on fire, gorgeously painted in reds and oranges, punctuating their duel. The fiery background visually represents Jack's inner rage. The effect is stunning. Without a single word, we understand the intensity of Jack's struggle. The visuals make us feel Jack's anger and determination in a way that a monologue never could. Plus, it looks insanely cool. Who wouldn't be hooked by a samurai slicing through an inferno against his own shadowy twin? One of the first things you notice about Samurai Jack is its minimalist art style. This show proves that less can be more. Backgrounds often feel open and simple. Characters are drawn with clean lines, and there's a lot of negative space in many shots. Rather than clutter the screen with detail, Samurai Jack's artists used bold shapes and colors to set the scene. Tartakovsky and art director Scott Wills essentially painted each scene like a piece of art, rather than a typical busy cartoon. Samurai Jack's backgrounds often looked like modern art paintings: bold shapes, flat colors, and plenty of open space to let the action breathe. These minimalist backgrounds were deliberately designed to not distract from the characters. In fact, the show had a principled design aesthetic. Every shot was composed with classical art principles like harmony, balance, proportion, emphasis, and contrast in mind. The result? Clarity and impact. Your eye immediately goes to what matters in the scene, usually Jack and whatever challenge he's facing, and you feel the scale and mood without needing lots of clutter. A key choice was no thick black outlines on characters or objects. Unlike most cartoons where characters are outlined in black, in Samurai Jack, the characters blend more into the scene, almost like cut-out paper or a painting. This made animation harder as the team had to pick colors very carefully so that Jack still popped out from the background. But it paid off by giving the show its distinct look. Characters and backgrounds feel like one cohesive world of art. It's as if the animators said, "Who needs outlines? We'll separate elements by color and contrast alone." And they nailed it. You can see Jack clear as day even when he's a tiny figure on the screen, because the color design and composition lead your eye to him. Notice in these scenes how Jack often appears small against a huge backdrop. The emptiness around him isn't boring, it's powerful. It emphasizes Jack's solitude and the epic scale of his journey. When Jack crosses a giant empty desert or a long bridge suspended in fog, you feel how alone he is in this future world. The minimalist design reinforces the story's theme of a lone samurai against the world. It also gives the action scenes a stark stage to play out on, kind of like a blank canvas where every sword slash and jump is crystal clear. Think of it like a spotlight on a stage. Jack is under that spotlight, and everything extraneous fades to black. And hey, the minimalist style wasn't just artsy. It also led to some great visual humor. There are moments where the show will hold a wide shot forever, with nothing moving but maybe a tiny dust cloud, just to make you chuckle at how absurdly patient or calm Jack can be. Anyone remember Jack calmly riding a horse across a plain for what feels like a full minute? The commitment to the bit is impressive. By stripping down the visuals, Samurai Jack could use timing and composition to land jokes without a single spoken punchline. Now that's confidence. Samurai Jack doesn't just look like a painting. It often feels like a movie. Tartakovsky and his team brought cinematic techniques into this Cartoon Network series in a way nobody had really seen in animation at the time. He has said that all the stuff they did on Jack was basically classic film techniques. A simple cinema, just told more visually. In other words, they treated each episode like a short film. Wide, establishing shots set the scene, lingering so you can soak in the atmosphere. Slow pans and long takes build suspense, reminiscent of an old samurai flick where two warriors stare each other down before the duel. Dramatic camera angles, like silhouettes shot from a low angle or an extreme wide shot of a tiny Jack versus a giant robot, give a grand, epic feel. The influences behind Samurai Jack read like a film buff's list of favorites. Critics and fans have noted homages to Akira Kurosawa's samurai films and Sergio Leone's spaghetti westerns, among others. Basically, imagine if Kurosawa and Leone co-directed a sci-fi martial arts cartoon. That's Samurai Jack's vibe in a nutshell. One episode might channel Seven Samurai with Jack defending villagers from an army of robots, while another episode feels like a western, with Jack facing down bounty hunters in a dusty town at high noon. The show even debuted as a premiere movie. The first 3 episodes form a movie-like pilot complete with a 3-act structure. Talk about wearing its cinematic ambitions on its sleeve. There's a great example in the pilot movie. Jack teams up with a tribe of dog archaeologists to defend their village against Aku's robot beetle army. This entire sequence is basically Samurai Jack's tribute to Kurosawa's Seven Samurai, except here it's one samurai, Jack, leading the charge instead of 7, and the desperate villagers are dog scientists instead of farmers. The battle plays out with almost no dialogue, just the rhythm of action and the swell of music, like a classic film battle scene. The shot composition where Jack is standing stoically at sunrise and the camera panning over the approaching robot horde feels straight out of an epic movie. It's cinematic storytelling in cartoon form, and it gives the show a timeless, almost mythic quality. Samurai Jack also isn't afraid to experiment with film techniques. Some episodes use split screens and clever editing. Others go for extended slow-motion sequences to highlight dramatic moments. Think of Jack leaping through the air, where time almost freezes as he dodges an attack. And then there's the pacing. The show is a masterclass in restraint and release. It will hold a quiet moment for just long enough that you start feeling the tension, and then hit you with a burst of fast-paced action. It's like the show whispers, "Psst, get ready," and then yells, "Banzai," when the action hits. This rhythm of calm versus chaos keeps you glued to the screen, much like a well-crafted action movie that knows when to slow down and when to blow up. As one commentator put it, watching Samurai Jack is like Kurosawa meets Leone, with a dash of sci-fi insanity in the mix. Now let's talk about color, because Samurai Jack uses color in bold, brilliant ways, and its twin brother, Silhouette, which the show turns into an art form. Without heavy dialogue, color palettes and contrast do a ton of storytelling work. In this series, each episode or even each scene often has its own distinct color theme that sets the mood instantly. Some episodes bathe the screen in a single dominant color. For example, one episode might be set in a blazing red volcanic realm, the lava and sky all fiery red, making you feel the heat and danger. Another might put Jack in a cool blue icy mountain, giving a lonely, cold vibe. And then there's black and white, Samurai Jack famously has an episode that's practically a black and white film. In Jack vs. the Ninja, the entire showdown between Jack and a deadly ninja assassin is done in pure black and white contrast. Jack is dressed in his signature white kimono. The ninja is pure black, and they fight in a tower where sunlight streaming through windows creates shifting patterns of light and shadow. The screen literally turns into a moving ink painting. When Jack stays in the light, he disappears against the white background except for his eyes. And when the ninja slips into shadow, he vanishes into the darkness. It's an incredible visual sequence, a duel that plays out like a dance of shadows. By using just black and white, they created a bizarrely beautiful silhouette fight that animation fans still rave about. Seriously, it's unmatched in its clever use of shadow. The silhouette technique does more than just look cool. It makes the action crystal clear and symbolic. In the Jack vs. Ninja duel, you literally see good versus evil as white versus black on screen. It strips the fight down to its essence, almost like watching shadow puppets in a primal battle of light and dark. Other episodes use silhouettes too. Often Jack is shown as a black shape against a stunning background, which instantly tells us, here's our hero standing strong. This harkens back to classic cinematography and even old samurai ink artwork, where form and pose matter more than details. It's visual iconography. Even if you saw just the outline of Jack with his top knot and sword, you'd know it's him and feel the badassery of the moment. Color in Samurai Jack also carries emotional weight. We saw how fiery reds in the Mad Jack fight represented anger. Similarly, calm scenes often use muted tones or cool colors, like soft blues and greens when Jack is at peace or reminiscing about his home. When danger is near, the colors might shift. Perhaps a sudden blood-red sky when Aku appears, or an eerie green glow in a haunted house. Without words, these color cues tell us what to feel. The art team could make a lush forest feel tranquil or terrifying just by tweaking the palette. It's a form of visual storytelling shorthand, and our brains just respond to color on a gut level. Ever notice how Jack's outfit is white? Aside from being traditional, it also makes him a perfect good guy beacon. In a dark world full of Aku's black and neon-toned evil, Jack literally wears the light. Convenient for us viewers, we can always spot him, and it kind of haloifies our hero. Meanwhile, Aku is black and red, the classic villain colors. The show plays with these contrasts in every scene to keep the story visually clear. You almost always know who's the hero, who's the villain, and what mood you should be in just from the colors on screen. All these visual choices, like the minimalist designs, the cinematic techniques, the bold colors and silhouettes, aren't just for show, even though they are gorgeous. They directly support the storytelling and tone of Samurai Jack. This series is essentially a mythic hero's journey about a lone samurai in a strange future. The visuals make you feel that journey of oscillation and scale. The sparse backgrounds and wide shots sell Jack's loneliness and the massive scope of his quest. You truly sense how far from home he is and how daunting his path is, because the world around him often looks vast, unfamiliar, and sometimes empty. It's Jack versus the world visually. Samurai Jack has an incredible emotional storytelling. By not using much dialogue, the visuals convey emotion. A sunset can convey hope or sadness. A sudden change from light to shadow can signal a turn in the fight. The use of color can clue us into Jack's mindset. We end up investing in Jack's story through what we see and hear rather than what we're told. It's a classic show-don't-tell approach, fitting since this is literally a show, and it makes for a more engaging experience. Visual storytelling also has an universal appeal. It made Samurai Jack accessible to audiences of all ages and languages. You could watch an episode with the sound off and still follow the plot. This almost silent film quality is why Samurai Jack felt like a game changer. It trusted the audience to pay attention to subtleties and rewarded them with a rich, almost cinematic experience in each 22-minute episode. Genndy Tartakovsky proved that kids and adults would get it, that we're all capable of appreciating visual nuance. And let's not forget, these visual techniques made Samurai Jack unforgettable. Ask any fan, and they'll paint you a picture of their favorite scene. Jack leaping in silhouette against the moon, or Aku's form looming large in a stylized background. These images stick in our minds years after we've seen them. In a way, Samurai Jack's storytelling tricks our brains into remembering it like we remember our favorite movies or paintings, as iconic imagery rather than just another cartoon episode. Samurai Jack was more than just a cool cartoon in the early 2000s. It was a visual revolution in animated storytelling. By embracing a minimalist, cinematic style and using color and contrast so boldly, Genndy Tartakovsky and his team created something that felt totally fresh and yet timeless. The show reminded us that animation is, at its core, a visual medium, and that sometimes you don't need witty dialogue or convoluted plots to captivate an audience. Sometimes a silent stare, a striking silhouette, or a splash of color on the horizon is all it takes to tell a powerful story. The impact of Samurai Jack's visual innovation is still felt today. It paved the way for other creators to take risks, to let scenes breathe, to use silence and artful composition in animation. Tartakovsky himself carried these ideas into later projects like Star Wars, The Clone Wars, and Primal, which have huge fan followings for the same reasons. Samurai Jack also proved that audiences appreciate artistry. It wasn't just a hit, it became a classic that people return to, analyze, and even base new shows on. In the end, Samurai Jack's lasting legacy is that it showed the world how beautiful and cinematic animation can be on the small screen. It's a show that can make you laugh at a Scotsman's insults one moment and leave you in awe at a wordless fight scene the next. It's a reminder that even in our noisy, fast-paced media landscape, a quiet moment of a drawn sword under a setting sun can still give you chills. So next time you watch an episode of Samurai Jack or any animated show, take a moment to really look at the visuals. Notice the backgrounds, the colors, the composition. There's a whole story being told in every frame. Samurai Jack mastered that art, and that's why its visual world remains so compelling. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm feeling the urge to rewatch some Samurai Jack on mute just to soak in those sweet visuals. Because when a picture is worth 1,000 words, and Jack's entire journey is practically an epic novel. Until next time, thanks for watching, and remember, in the battle between good and evil, style points definitely count.